Enoch Burke is back before the courts today. He's currently being held in prison for contempt of a court order restraining him from entering the premises or grounds of Wilson's Hospital School in County Westmeath, where he was a teacher prior to being suspended in August of 2022. I'm joined by Frank Greaney, our courts correspondent. He works for both Newstalk and Today FM. Frank, good morning.
Good morning, Pat.
So what's happening in court today?
Well, today Enoch Burke will be given yet another opportunity, I suppose, to purge his contempt. That's the whole reason that he has spent so long behind bars in Mountjoy Prison. The order was originally put in following a full hearing last summer. Much of it, I should say, was conducted in the absence of Enoch Burke because he refused to behave himself in court. And on that occasion, Mr. Justice Alex Owens fully vindicated the school's decision to suspend him on full pay pending the outcome of a disciplinary process, which, as we all know by now, eventually resulted in his dismissal for gross misconduct. And as part of that judgment, Mr. Justice Owens also directed that Enoch stop trespassing on the school grounds. That order was made during the school's summer holiday, so it wasn't properly tested until the new term got underway. And as soon as the school gates swung open, lo and behold, Enoch was back. So the school went to the High Court to again tell the judges what was going on. And Enoch Burke was given an opportunity to purge his contempt. He refused to do so. So he's sent back to prison. This isn't the first time he has been sent to prison, by the way. He spent over 100 days in prison previously for the same reason. But he was jailed again on the 8th of September. And he's been given a number of opportunities since. It has come before the courts. I suppose there have been multiple reviews of his detention since. And that's exactly what's going to happen today. His detention will be reviewed. And I expect that he began again given an opportunity to purge his contempt.
Yeah.
And I don't want to preempt what will happen in court, but you suspect that he will decline that opportunity.
Will he be present?
He wasn't the last time, and that was because he refused to give the court an undertaking not to disrupt proceedings. So he wanted to be in court in person last time, but when he refused to give that undertaking, a decision was made to hold the case, or at least for Enoch Burke to take part remotely from Mountjoy Prison.
Now, the other aspect of this, in his absence, one might expect his family to be present to make representations or to make their feelings known to the court. That's not going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen, and that's on the back of something that happened last week, on the back of, I suppose, previous disruptions in court in relation to this case. Now, last week, Mr. Justice Mark Sanfey directed that several members of his family, as you say, be excluded from today's hearing. His parents, Sean and Martina, his brother Isaac, and his sister Amy. And the judge decided to consider excluding them because, as I say, of their disruptive behaviour at a previous hearing. And despite that, he gave them the opportunity last week to give undertakings not to disrupt proceedings today. So he had no objection to them attending in person, but he just wanted a commitment that there would be no disruptions or interruptions, as we have seen, and I have been witness to many of these occasions where the Burkes have crossed over the judge as he's delivering a judgment. Unsurprisingly, all of the Burkes objected to their exclusion. They claimed they hadn't been given proper notice of his decision to exclude them. The judge pointed out in response to that they had received written notice well in advance. They claimed it was unconstitutional to deny them access to the courtroom. Enoch Burke, again last week, appeared via video link. He claimed that he had been dragged from his cell at Mountjoy Prison, given no advance warning of the application to exclude some of his family. He felt totally unprepared. He accused the judge of being a liar. Again, he claimed that he was being punished for his religious beliefs. And that has been a theme of these proceedings before Mr. Justice Sanfey, is that he, at times when he's been asked if he's going to make that commitment to purge his contempt and to stay away from the school, Enoch Burke dodges the question and again goes off talking about why he believes that he is in Mountjoy Prison. And the judge has been at pains to point out that that's not why he's before the court. It is simply to ask the question and to hopefully get an answer as to whether or not he is going to purge his contempt. The judge said that he was entitled to take steps to maintain good order in the courts, and that's why he's decided to exclude certain family members.
Now, if he decided to purge his contempt and apologise to the court and pledge not to go near Wilson's Hospital School, would he then be released? And I know there is a huge bill of fines that must have mounted up.
Yes, I mean, the ball is very much in Enoch Burke's hands, and it always has been in relation to these contempt proceedings. He doesn't even have to go so far as to apologise to the court. All he has to do is to give the school and the court an undertaking that he will abide by the court order and refrain from attending at Wilson's hospital school. If he was to do that, he would be released immediately. And if he was to follow through with that commitment, there would be no issues. There are other court proceedings in train. He could focus on them. But as of yet, and this is the third review, I should say, in relation to his latest detention. This is the third review, and up until now, he has refused to purge his contempt. He simply dodges the question when he is asked, and the judge has accused him of using the opportunity to deliver pre-made speeches. But you know, as I say, if he was to give that undertaking in the court today, and again, he doesn't have to apologise to anybody, but if he was to purge his contempt, he would be released from prison. And that is the whole point of civil orders when they are made. If a person doesn't abide by them, citizens like you and I have to abide by them. And if we don't, the court does have certain recourse, I suppose, to coerce somebody into complying with the court order. It can impose fines. That didn't work. €700 daily fines for Enoch Burke, stacked up to hundreds of thousands of euro. That didn't deter him. Imprisonment doesn't seem to have had the desired effect either. He has spent almost 300 days in prison now in total between various contempt proceedings. So it's just hard to know. And many judges have tried and failed to figure out how exactly to coerce Enoch Burke into complying with this order.
If he doesn't pay his fines, the hundreds of thousands of euro of fines, he's likely to end up in prison. Even if he purged his contempt, he could end up back in prison for non-payment of significant fines.
And around and around and around we go again. That's the thing. You know, if, as I say, you or I were to breach a court order in the way that Enoch Burke has done and were fined and didn't pay that fine, we would inevitably be imprisoned for it. But prison doesn't seem to have had the desired effect. And you have to, whatever you think about Enoch Burke and his opinions and whatnot, you have to admire his resilience. He has spent over 300 days, or almost 300 days now, behind bars in Mountjoy Prison. And, you know, as I said earlier, he could walk out the door today or any day if he simply gave the school that undertaking to stay away from Wilson's Hospital School.
There's a text here from a listener. I feel for Enoch Burke, but he's his own worst nightmare. He's no right to enter a school that he has no business in. His family have made themselves the most unemployable family in the country, I suppose, through their notoriety in the courts. And then it goes on to say the education system in this country should not allow students to transition while they're in the education system. It's a topic for another day, Frank, but the question is, does the Department of Education have rules so everybody in every school, every teacher knows what the story is? And I don't know the answer yet to that question.
No, and specifically, I suppose, in relation to Enoch Burke, sometimes what gets lost in the story is the reason that he was actually dismissed or suspended at first and then dismissed following those disciplinary proceedings. It was because of his conduct after the principal sent around an email to staff about this student who expressed a desire to transition, to be known by a different name and a gender-neutral pronoun, things like that. Enoch Burke was, following a disciplinary procedure, Enoch Burke was dismissed for gross misconduct. His behaviour after receiving that email was called into question and it was deemed to be gross misconduct. So that's where we're at. And obviously the reason he's behind bars and the reason that he'll be back before the court, albeit virtually by the looks of it today, is because of the fact that he refuses to abide by an order imposed by a High Court judge.
Frank Greaney, our courts correspondent. Frank, thank you very much.